Why do people talk about dreams so much in sports? Dream seasons, dream matchups, dream opportunities. They do it because so much of sports is about imagining what you want things to be like. If only the setting were just right.
It was one of those times none of us will ever forget.
The characters just right.
I don't know anything about Angola, but Angola's in trouble.
The timing just right.
11 Hall of Famers. I don't think you can ever do that again, at no point in time.
If only it could all be the way you might have dreamed it up yourself.
Oh, are you filming?
Yep.
That was the most exhilarating 15 seconds of my life.
People perceived us as being superheroes.
Please, Micah Jordan!
No Isaiah Thomas
No
stuff.
Isaiah Thomas question.
Cool.
We became a team, and that team just stomped on everybody.
This never happened in sports. Nowhere.
Well, I figured eventually there'd be a movie made about the Dream Team.
This group may well be the greatest team ever assembled in the history of team sports.
God bless you, and God bless America.
20 years can go by pretty fast, and the world isn't going to stop and wait for you to remember what it used to look like. 1992 was a time of change. New faces in America quickly transforming into cultural icons. None more so than the superstars of the NBA.
The Bulls have repeated. Let the party begin.
After the legends of the 80s had lifted the league's profile to new heights, a fresh crop of players had blown the lid off.
Here's Ewing.
Robinson. Yes!
Their talents and their charisma made them more than just basketball players.
I am not a role model.
They were a new kind of star athlete whose popularity transcended the game.
Like Mike. If I could be like Mike.
Is it the shoes?
No, Mom.
And now the very best of them awaited their brightest showcase, the world's largest athletic stage, the Olympic Games in Barcelona, Spain, even if no one truly realized the impact they would make there.
It's a watershed moment in the history of sports, not just the Olympics, not just basketball. It moved the culture along.
But in 1992, not everyone was ready for them. Not everyone thought pro basketball stars had a place in the Olympics.
This kind of thing had never, ever, ever been done. So there was a lot of, poking the bear, if you will, by people in my profession. Sports journalists and journalists in general were skeptical, angry, because this wasn't the Olympic movement.
The Olympic ideal had always been about amateur competition, which meant the United States had always sent basketball teams made up of college kids, teams that dominated for decades. In 1972, the Soviet Union was awarded a victory over the U.S. in a controversial gold medal game.
The United States apparently had won the game, but the debate still goes on.
To this day, that American team still hasn't claimed their silver medals. But that result seemed like a fluke when the Americans got the gold in their next two Olympic appearances.
U.S. has its 9th gold medal.
While the U.S. celebrated, though, the rest of the world was catching up. So in 1988, when the Soviets won again, there was no talk of any fluke.
The United States goes home with a semifinal loss to the bigger, more experienced USSR team.
I was embarrassed. I know some of the guys left their medals there in the room. They didn't want to take them home. And here we are, USA on our chest, and we didn't get the job done.
But the amateur ideal had gotten muddled. While NBA players were prohibited from Olympic competition, Professionals from other leagues abroad could play.
If you played in Europe for money, you were an amateur, but if you played in the NBA for money, you were a professional. And so our players weren't eligible.
Those other countries were using pros. Playing against 18, 19-year-old kids, that is really unfair.
Changing the hypocrisy, though, was a central goal of a European named Boris Stankovic, the head of FIBA, the World Basketball Federation.
He was very much intent on lifting basketball up to the highest possible level of international sports. And if the whole world knew that the very best players in the world were not participating in the Olympics, that made it a second-class event.
So in 1989, Stankovic issued a resolution to allow pros from all leagues to compete in the Olympics. But back in America, the NBA was lukewarm to the idea.
We wanted to be good partners with FIBA to grow the sport of basketball, but we weren't particularly anxious. We didn't know what it would mean. We didn't know if our players would want to do it. We didn't know what the logistics were, but the vote passed, and NBA players were eligible for the Olympics.
Now the issue wasn't about whether American pros could play, but whether the best players wanted to play.
The one guy that, that we were a little concerned about was probably Michael.
The thought back then was Michael Jordan plays 36 holes of golf 90 days during the summer. What the hell is he going to be doing playing basketball?
I was hoping they would not ask me to participate. And I was trying to figure out a way graciously that I could decline. I'd done the Olympic thing before, and when Rod Thorne called me and asked me, I wasn't gung-ho about it.
My appeal to him was, you're the top player in the world. This is bigger than the NBA Finals, and, we need you. His thing, well, who else is playing? I mean, are all the good players going to play? I'm not going to play by myself.
So Michael Jordan waited to hear more, and Rod Thorne made his next call.
It was a no-brainer for me. I was in from day one. And I figured if I jumped in first and said I wanted to play, that would get guys to want to participate as well.
I think if Magic wasn't on that team, I don't think it would have been as spectacular as it was. And to finish out our careers, that was important for both of us.
Once you get guys like Magic and Larry committing to the team, then all of a sudden it becomes something very, very special. Representing the USA is already a tremendous honor, but to know that you're going to be on a dream team is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Magic, Bird, and David Robinson weren't alone in their pride.
They called in the big guns. We're the Navy SEALs that we had to go over there and kick butts and take names.
With those stars and the Utah Jazz tandem of John Stockton and Karl Malone, the dream team was starting to take shape.
It don't matter if you call me last. I got the call.
I didn't feel like that I deserved to be called, but I truly wasn't going to tell them that.
I was like, yeah, I'm in. I didn't even think to say who was on the team. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Yes.
Charles Barkley's ability was never in question, but his attitude was.
God want us to win the world championship.
I don't know if I go that far, Charles.
No, I talked to him the other night.
I learned early in Philadelphia. It doesn't matter what I say. So from this day forward, I'm going to say what the hell I want to say. And some people are going to like it, and some people are going to dislike it.
But after a series of incidents on and off the court, the least of the committee's concerns were about what Barkley would say.
I was asked to talk to him. He was so honored that we would even think about asking him. He convinced me that you won't have any problems with me.
Now, with the team nearly complete, Rod Thorne had enough talent secured to go back to where he started.
Representing my country was a big thing, but I think, the biggest motivation for me was now I get to spend time with some of the guys I compete against all the time.
Portland's Clyde Drexler rounded out the list of NBA players, while the final spot on the roster was reserved for an amateur, Duke's Christian Laettner, coming off back-to-back NCAA titles.
There's the pass to Laettner. Puts it up. Yes!
In any other Olympic year, Laettner might have been the team's biggest star. But on this team, he was fine with being the last guy on the bench.
I tell people this all the time, and it may shock them, but my most enjoyable year was my freshman year because they don't expect nothing from you except carry the luggage, do the laundry, and get our donuts. And that's easy. The harder thing is to be the leader.
By May of 1991, 2 months before the Olympics, the team was set. One college kid and 11 future Hall of Famers. The man charged with putting it all together was the unflappable Chuck Daly.
Okay, all set?
I'm set.
Chuck looked the part. He was the guy that looked like he owned the arena, but he would also push the broom.
His hair was beautiful. His suits were immaculate. He wanted to win, but he wanted to look good.
As the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, Daly did both, winning back-to-back championships in 1989 and 90.
The Pistons are winners and still champions of the world.
The Pistons were nicknamed the Bad Boys for their aggressive and some said dirty style of play, never more evident than in their memorable playoff battles with Michael Jordan's Bulls.
Michael on the move against Vinnie Johnson in the hoop. He is necktied. Oh. Michael Jordan goes down hard.
Detroit and Chicago had no love for each other.
So when Daly was named the Dream Team coach, many wondered how he'd handle working with the Bulls' biggest star.
I was being asked to wrestle with some demons and some issues.
But the coach was well acquainted with the task of managing personalities.
He coached the bad boys. And if you can coach those, you can coach anybody.
One player Daly wouldn't be coaching in the Olympics, however, was his own star in Detroit, point guard Isaiah Thomas, who controversially had been left off the team's roster.
No matter how much people try to say now, you know, it was no big a deal. It was a big deal.
I talked to Isaiah at the beginning of the year about the aspect he wasn't on the team, and he was not comfortable with it. I'm sure he is very hurt. He's a very deserving player, but, you know, he was not selected.
Thomas was well on his way to a Hall of Fame career, but was also seen by many as the biggest cultivator of the bad boys image in Detroit.
And now Isaiah Thomas and Cartwright swinging.
Isaiah was the general. He was the guy that would yap at his teammates and say, knock them on the ass, do whatever you got to do.
A beautiful backdoor pass from Pippen, and he is walloped. He knew he was going to get hit.
I despised the way that he played the game.
Did you want him on the Dream Team?
No, I did not want him on the team.
Did Michael? Did he want him on the team?
Well, I can't speak for Michael, but I don't think he wanted him on the team.
Now, there has been speculation that your icy relationship with Isaiah Thomas is the reason that he was not selected. Well, what is your reaction to that?
That was one of the stipulations put to me prior to me even committing, that Isaiah wasn't a part of the team. I was getting strong innuendos that it wasn't just, you know, it was coming from higher places that didn't want Isaiah Thomas on the team.
Certainly things are being pointed at me because of our relationship and of course about the way that the end of the game between Detroit and Chicago ended.
We were picking the group just after the Pistons had been eliminated by the Bulls, and it was very bad timing for Isaiah. Everybody had fresh in their mind the picture of Isaiah walking off the court.
Pistons wasting no time in getting out of here. They left the bench, although there's 7 and 9/10 seconds remaining. The Pistons just left.
When the Pistons walked off the court before the final bell, I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
All right, no Isaiah Thomas stuff.
No Isaiah Thomas questions.
Cool.
Jordan and the team were done answering questions about Isaiah. But with training camp approaching, a bigger question would need to be answered.
Hello, how you doing?
How would the 12 stars that were selected play together?
Welcome.
Training camp began on June 22nd, 1992, in La Jolla, California. And when the gym doors opened, no one was quite sure what to expect, especially the players themselves.
It's a lot of egos in one gym and on one team. Everybody wanted their form to shine and showcase why they were a part of this team.
With all these stars on the team, if it comes down to the last shot, who's going to take the shot?
Me. Everybody in the world has an ego. The only difference between us, we have a reason to have an ego.
Every one of us felt like we was a everybody.
And when practice started that first day, every player seemed to be trying to prove just how great they were.
It was a very competitive practice, and I'm thinking, aren't we all on the same team?
Patrick go, I don't want to play with David, I want to play against him. And you hear Michael say, I don't want to be on Magic's team, I want to play against him.
Every evaluation of Michael Jordan at that time was, he's good, but he's never Magic Johnson. In my competitive nature, I wanted to use every little bit that I could gather so that I can gain an advantage.
Karl Malone, he's the only guy I would even compare to myself at the power forward position. So I want to prove that I was the best power forward in the world.
Charles. Yeah, he's a great talent. Do I think he's better than me? Hell no. So let's do this. By the time this over with, you're gonna be thinking I'm damn good too.
First practice, Barkley drives baseline, and Karl Malone jumps up like this. Barkley just dunked on him so hard. It was just an unbelievable play. I felt like, man, I cannot believe that I'm part of this practice.
A few days later, the team had a chance to acclimate themselves to playing on the same side. Chuck Daly had scheduled a scrimmage against a select group of college players, a group thrilled to be facing off against their idols.
I found out today I might be picking up Magic a little bit full court, so, you know, things are just happening for me. It really makes me happy.
My whole thought process was don't embarrass yourself, and that was like the theme for me, like just hang in there.
A lot of those people that I've looked up to, Barkley, Malone, a lot of those people talk confidence, and I think it's going to be a good matchup, you know. There's no advantage on either side.
For the college players, it was a chance to see how they'd match up against the world's best. For Coach Daly, it was an opportunity to get his stars to grow into a single unit.
I think we're somewhere between the mentality of an all-star game and trying to come together as a team. So we've got to continually work on this.
Daly had been hired for his ability to manage personalities and egos. And when the scrimmage began, it became apparent that his players had left one of their biggest weapons, those egos, somewhere else.
The non-fan would think, well, they're going to go in there and they're each going to want their own ball, and Jordan's going to be hogging the ball, and, you know, Magic's going to be dribbling all over the place. Point of fact, it was the exact opposite. They overpassed.
It was like, I don't want to start it off. You know, you do it. And before you realize it, the select team was beating us by 10.
We didn't know how to play with each other. We didn't want to step on anybody's toes or hurt any egos. And so these young kids, they were killing us.
We were not into it, and we paid for it.
Chris Webber was a man. I thought, boy, that's the guys coming this league, I could get out of here.
Bobby Hurley was dominant.
I did have some success penetrating and collapsing the defense, and our energy, our excitement to play, all those things played in our favor.
Bobby Hurley didn't play 2 seasons in the NBA. Nevertheless, it did expose the one weakness they could have had, which is defending against quick guards.
They were playing great. Then I noticed that Michael Jordan is not playing.
I'm saying something. Chuck, then he said, we're all right. Yeah, we're all right.
Daly watched as his players failed to make up the deficit. And in their first taste of outside competition, the Dream Team lost. A story their coach didn't want the press to get their hands on.
I remember Chuck saying, as soon as the game ended and we were getting ready to let media in, it was erase the scoreboard.
media comes in, scores, if not hundreds. They can sense something. You can feel the tension, or you feel something in the air.
Well, some of these college players we've just got through playing against probably should be on this team, but they'll get their chance.
The teams posed for a picture together, both not sure what to make of what had just happened. But the man in charge may have had the answer.
He threw the game. You know, Chuck threw the game. If you look how much Jordan played and how he subbed guys in, not picking up, not making any adjustments, he knew what he was doing.
It was legit. It felt tremendous. You know, what we were doing that day, you know, they couldn't stop it.
There are kids who believe in Santa Claus too, and the Easter Bunny, and now that they've grown up, I hate to burst their bubble, but it was a game thrown. Not many people would have done it, and he did it.
It was gratifying to Chuck for us to get our butts beat like that, because now we had to listen to him.
From then on, he had a way of just saying, you know, you could lose.
After fixing his collars and his hair, his speech was, anybody can get beat, so you gotta be ready to play. And I think that's the only speech he ever gave us.
The message got across. I mean, you know, Chuck couldn't have been happier, I'm sure.
It was brilliant on Chuck's part to be able to orchestrate that and play along like he didn't.
Why didn't he tell you guys?
We probably would have screwed it up.
The next day, training camp ended with a rematch against the college kids. And once play started, everything made sense again.
The tables were turned drastically.
We showed them why we are who we are. We pretty much beat them by 100.
They couldn't score. And by the way, Jordan played a lot more that next scrimmage.
Before the Dream Team could play in the 1992 Olympics, they had to qualify. The place to do that was Portland, Oregon, and the Tournament of the Americas. It would be the public's first chance to see the NBA stars together in a game, especially Jordan, Bird, and Magic. Daly had asked all three to be team captains, but Jordan had turned him down.
I knew how much it meant to both of those guys because they never had the opportunity to play on the Olympics. So I'd say, you know what, Chuck, don't worry about me. You know, let these old dogs do it.
Magic and Bird weren't just the team's oldest players. They were also the most revered. They had entered the league together in 1979, embarking on a rivalry that had redefined the NBA. And along the way, their personal admiration for one another had grown.
Magic's just a great basketball player. He's the best I've ever seen, you know. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say.
In 1992, they'd be getting the chance to share the ball. But the opportunity would be coming at the end of their careers. Bird had given his soul to the game. But after so many years, his body was betraying him.
Had back problems. It just gets to the point where you just couldn't play. I mean, you couldn't think, couldn't move, couldn't run. You know, if you can't feel your feet, it's hard to run.
Larry was on the fence because of his back, so I said, man, LP, you gotta play, man. You gotta play. This is our last chance to be together.
Magic would be able to convince his old friend to play. But at the start of the 1991-92 NBA season, he was forced to retire after learning he had the HIV virus. Doctors would eventually clear him to play in the Olympics, though that didn't stop fears from swirling.
There's a lot of players that really didn't want him to play, didn't want to play with him or against him, because nobody knew what disease meant. You know, they say you get a little blood on you, you got HIV, or you breathe on you, you know. I never bought any of that, you know. You just keep going. And that's what Irving decided to do, just keep pushing, keep going.
6-5, three-pointer, yes, oh my!
Magic had made a cameo in the 1992 All-Star Game and had focused his attention on the Olympics, hoping for an encore of a lifetime alongside his old rival.
Our careers were really over, and it was something I thought needed to happen for both of us.
Their debut would take place at Portland's Rose Garden, with their team needing to medal in the Tournament of the Americas to qualify for the Olympics. That seemed like a foregone conclusion to just about everyone, including their first opponents, who were completely in awe before the game even started.
The Cuban team spontaneously drops to its knees as if 12 popes had come by on Easter Sunday. At that point, the idea that this is merely a basketball game has been ripped asunder.
It was a surreal feeling. She's like, dude, we're here to kick y'all behind. And they want to take pictures with you.
Then the game begins. Magic and Larry come out together, two guys that had saved the league. They wouldn't even be playing this game without those two. And Magic passed the ball. Larry makes the first basket.
Banking in, goes to the fadeaway.
I mean, you know, it just didn't get any better than that.
The U.S. was off and running, and the result was a thing of beauty.
Johnson leading the break, finds Robinson.
And no one seemed more excited to be sharing the court than the co-captains.
Bird for three.
Opening night was a smashing success, with the outcome never in doubt.
Bullet from Magic to Portland.
And late in the game, the fans in Portland decided they wanted a curtain call from a three-time MVP.
The crowd start cheering, Larry, Larry, Larry.
Crowd reacts to the entrance of Larry Bird, a standing ovation.
And as he'd done so many other times in his career, Larry Bird rose to the occasion.
Jordan with the behind-the-back save. Here's Bird. Yes.
You just knew that Larry Bird was not going to miss that shot.
It was a virtually flawless performance. The final margin of victory was 77 points. And Magic and Bird had led the way. For Magic in particular, after a year out of the game, the victory had a special kind of meaning.
Living with HIV, never even thinking that I would ever have a chance to play basketball again, and then basketball for the United States. It was therapy for me, and I needed that in the worst way.
And then there was the matter of making sure Michael Jordan knew he was back as well.
Yeah, you hear what the captain said? The captain said, sit down, or this boat is going to sink.
That's right. Have a seat, because you're going to fall.
That's the seniority right there.
I know it.
With Magic and Michael, there was that little extra something there, you know, and something kind of to prove to each other.
I took it upon myself to always shoot with Michael. Okay, MJ, free throws today. Who was the first one to 50? Or we had little games, who was the better shooter?
You know what you got to do. Know what you got to do.
He didn't want to relinquish that control of the 80s, in a sense, even though we were going into the 90s.
Don't touch the phone. One hand, don't touch it. Dig! Don't touch it. Oh.
You know, he just come off missing a whole year. So it was who can win, who's going to have the bragging rights by the end of this trip.
You can't get too close to Michael, it's a foul.
You haven't committed a foul in almost a year and a half, man. How can you talk?
Michael's always tried to let people know that he's the top dog in whatever. That's just his competitive mode.
I'm the young guy with the elder statesman. These old guys, they got arthritis. They can't stand in one spot too long.
He's a young puppy. I'm the big dog here. Whatever I say goes.
While the winner of Magic and Michael's "Can You Top This" challenge remained in doubt, when it came to facing the competition in the Tournament of the Americas, the team stood united.
When we took the court in Portland, which, we're on home ground, we wanted to showcase to the fans who would be representing them.
The lead is 30. Steele. Jordan.
I'm gonna send a message around the world today that y'all can give it up. You foreigners can give it up.
Mullen with the steal. Stockton and Mullen goes the other way. Stockton set him up perfectly.
The Americans won their 6 games at the tournament by an average of 50 points.
All right, Larry, your impressions of tonight's game?
The gold medal was no surprise. But what was unexpected was the team's interactions with their opponents, who showered them with adulation before, after, and even during games.
Patrick Johnson and Oranga shaking hands after they shot.
The Tournament of the Americas had served its purpose. The U.S. had qualified for the Barcelona Games and given the world its first glimpse of what was coming later that summer.
I just want to say this is just a small step to what our goal really is, to get to Barcelona, win the gold medal, and bring it back where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
On July 18th, 1992, with the Barcelona Olympics a week away, the U.S. men's basketball team headed overseas.
Straight back into the left, private room, follow Irvin.
They would hold several days of practice in Monte Carlo and play one more tune-up before heading to the Olympics. The luxurious setting on the Mediterranean Sea was fitting for what already may have been the world's most famous team.
Monte Carlo is one of those glamorous cities, and here we were with the most glamorous team ever. So it's kind of a rock star-ish kind of a thing.
The players were relaxed and confident, and willing to admit there was more to the trip than just basketball.
I don't worry about playing basketball. That comes natural. I just want to have fun. David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Michael Jordan. This is like spring break in the ghetto.
The opulent resort town was a playground waiting to be explored. And the players weren't shy about enjoying themselves.
Are y'all filming me? Now look.
The scene in Monte Carlo was great. It was just breathtaking. I was down on the beach, just kind of trying to enjoy some of the scenery. Look at this. It's paradise.
I think every team in the NBA should train here, actually. They need to get a team here.
Every day we got back to practice, we made a beeline to the swimming pool because all those girls were laying out topless.
I'm going to be in that pool so much the next 2 days. I don't think I'm on the swimming team in Barcelona.
We're all out there with our significant others, and all these women walking around topless coming, can I have an autograph? So I signed it, and Michael pops me and tells me, see, usually you tell everybody no, but because this lady coming over topless, you're going to sign her autograph. My wife looking at me like...
The best part about it was Patrick Ewing buying the beer at the pool. You know, $7 a beer, I never heard of that. Of course, Patrick didn't drink, he didn't know how much beer was.
One thing you don't want to do is drink beer with Larry Bird. Larry Bird drinks Budweiser, which Budweiser is the strongest beer in the world. And my head hurt for like 2 days.
They were used to being opponents, but Monte Carlo was proving to be the perfect place to find common ground.
I got the coach, that means we get to go first.
Michael Jordan enjoys his golf, as did Chuck Daly.
I got the coach with me, man. I got carte blanche, you know what I mean?
Michael and Chuck played almost every single day, if not every day.
Come off the hill. That may be green, Chuck.
Chuck was playing his practice schedule around our golf time. That, to me, was ideal. Play a little bit of basketball, play a little golf, and you're in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, it sounds like a basketball.
The relationship that a head coach has with his main guy is incredibly important. Chuck's ability to get Michael is amazing because think of how bitter enemies they had to be. Chuck devised the defense that drove Jordan out of his mind. And yet, here they are playing golf together.
Jordan could really have unbelievably bad feelings towards Chuck. Chuck understood that, and he embraced them.
Chuck, yeah. How many I gotta give you today? Huh? How many I gotta give you?
Well, you shoot 72. I watched it.
That was a bonding thing for me and Chuck. Always been a thing that I treasure just as much as being a part of the team.
Ooh, la la.
For Jordan, golf was only one part of the whirlwind schedule, which his teammates were discovering was just the way he liked it.
What are you doing today, Andrade? What you gonna do? You wanna sleep?
I remember thinking that. Does this guy ever sleep?
Golf, 36 holes. I'm playing it tomorrow, too.
He would do more things and be ready to practice and play as much as anybody.
Michael Jordan.
The thing that I remember the most was going out and playing golf with Michael Jordan before a game. And I thought, and I'm going to be exhausted tonight. And Michael just had ridiculous energy and was phenomenal. I felt like I was running in quicksand a little bit. And so, it gave me a whole nother level of respect for kind of the freak of nature that he really is.
Grab that plate of food, Jim.
We played cards in Magic Room till 5 o'clock in the morning pretty much every night. It was so much fun.
Right, homie? Yeah, I'm tired.
He's like a bionic guy, or he'd play cards, play golf, play basketball.
Jordan going all the way.
I don't know when he ever slept. Finally, after a ball game, he was just lying down. And I looked at him, I said, I think that's the first time he's gone to sleep on the whole trip.
After a few days in Monte Carlo, the players returned to the court for an exhibition against the French national team.
Everybody had their eyes on one team. You could feel that it was just such talent, such incredible skill, and it was just such a pleasure to watch.
The Americans won the game easily, even if their performance was far short of seamless.
It wasn't a great game. A lot of sloppy passing. I didn't like any of it.
It was a terrible game, and U.S. looked half interested. And so Chuck kind of the next morning in Monte Carlo, even though everybody was a little hungover and tired, had to really kick their butt.
Chuck says, okay, this is what's going to happen. We're going to play it like a real game. We're going to play 4 quarters.
We had me, Scotty, Mullins, Bird, and Patrick, and Magic had his 5. We weren't going to change that team at no point in time. You got your 5, I got my 5.
We gave them the college guy. You can have Christian Laettner. We don't want him. You can have him.
He's just over there waiting to tag in. But it was about pride. And the college kid couldn't help either one of the team.
Michael Jordan called Clyde out and went at him. Tell him, this is what I'm going to do to you. Fall away jumper, good. What did I tell you? So I said, no, Clyde, you better get him back. You better get him back. Charles Barkley said, I want to take Karl Malone now. So Charles gets it, fall away jumper, good. I said, Carl, you got to get him back. You better go down there and get him back. Carl went right at him, jump shot. You ain't nothing, Barkley. So then I came down.
His energy is real high. He feels like he's in an opportunity to prove himself. Showcase that, hey, look, I'm still Magic Johnson. I still dominate this game.
That's all right. That's all right. We go from here.
Magic was saying, you ain't the guy, and we got other players in this gym.
Don't be cheating on me.
Doesn't take much to get Michael going. Just a little something to tweak him, and it's on.
He never liked to lose. Mike always got that look. When you see that look, then you know, just give him the damn ball and get out the way.
As much as it was 5-on-5, we could see in Monte Carlo that it was gravitating towards, okay, Michael and Magic.
Magic was hesitant to surrender his place on the mountaintop. And Michael, being Michael, he needed to say, no, I'm on the top of the mountain now.
Magic was saying, look, NBA's not yours yet. You know, I'm still here. Michael's like, no, it's over. This is mine. And the funny thing was Larry was sitting on the side going, it's his.
Chuck realized the competition aspect was getting a little bit too high.
Killing everybody on our squad.
He wanted to end practice, but Magic didn't want to end because he wanted to keep playing because we just kicked his ass.
How you like that ass kicking we gave you?
No. Come on now.
Well, y'all got the first quarter of practice.
By the time practice was over, even Magic had to acknowledge basketball's landscape had been changed forever.
Good job, Steve.
Larry and I were talking, and Michael walks in, and he says, "There's a new sheriff in town." And we both hit each other like, well, he's not lying.
Monte Carlo was kind of a turning point. Walls started to come down from, you know, when you're playing against each other, you have these rivalries. These are my teammates now. They're guys that, you know, that I'm looking towards for support. It seemed like we became more friends than anything else.
The players were off to Barcelona, headed to the Olympics, unmistakably as a team. The United States men's basketball team landed in Barcelona for the Olympics on July 24, 1992. In store was an experience unlike anything they or the sports world had ever seen.
The plane landing in Barcelona, helicopters flying over it.
We're thinking, wow, what is all the commotion? What happened? And then we figured out they were there for us.
That was the first time that we realized how popular and how enormous this thing was. I was like, guys, if we lose, it's gonna be like the biggest upset in sports history.
Barkley was right. There was no margin for error, a reality the rest of the team openly accepted in their first press conference in Spain.
I know I'm really afraid to fail because I can't go back home if we don't win the gold. Even though from a little small place in Summerfield, those 250 people there said, I can't come back.
Barkley, meanwhile, handled an endless barrage of questions as only he could.
How did you feel in 1972 when the Soviet Union beat the United States in that wild game?
Well, I had just flunked my entrance exam into kindergarten, so that was the only thing,
You know, everybody that has ever been in front of a camera, we tend to not say certain things.
Why don't they just take their ass whipping like people and go home?
Barkley says things that we would think about and never say.
We're gonna have a little revenge in our hearts for 72 and 88. David, well, he can't say that because he's a Christian, but
He said, man, you don't talk honestly enough to the media. You need to tell them what you're really thinking. I said, Charles, you talk too much to the media. You need to stop telling them everything you're thinking.
And when Charles was asked about the team's first opponent, his prediction was as honest as ever.
I don't know anything about Angola, but Angola's in trouble, I think.
Just moments ago, the Dream Team boarded the bus outside their hotel along the Ramblas. They're heading for their first matchup in Barcelona with the Angolans.
I can remember the first game, the real game, when we came out of the locker room and stepped on the court. And I finally said to myself, I can't believe this, I'm here.
At that point, we were in serious Olympic mode.
This actually may be the biggest mismatch of the entire Olympics. Barkley off a beautiful feed from Mullen, and he drew the foul. Magic wins. The U.S. with a 46-1 run. 46-1.
It was just a tremendous atmosphere because there was an appreciation for how great the U.S. players were.
After the first half, Barkley's pregame prediction appeared dead on. But in the second, Charles found some trouble.
I had the players in Angola who play against Charles Barkley. They told us there's no a kid, a fat boy, is many aggressive in the paint.
Rebound Barkley. Rebound Barkley. And he's fouled and shoves David Diaz. Well, Charles getting a bit aggressive.
I thought they were playing dirty. And I told old boy, I don't even know if he understood. I said, hey, man, ease up on the elbows.
Barkley from Pippen.
I let it go twice.
You can see the frustration with Barkley.
And the next time, I just cracked it.
Barkley from Pippen. And a technical foul has been called on Barkley.
To his dying day, Charles claims the guy elbowed him 3 times. I said, Charles, you know, you're full of crap.
No, it's not true. I didn't elbow Barkley before the incident.
People always say, turn the other cheek. If you turn the other cheek, I'm gonna hit you another cheek too.
I thought, what are you doing, Charles? The guy is half your size, but you know, Charles was an equal opportunity abuser.
Erlander Codimbra did not think it was a friendly elbow.
That's the same guy that just asked you for an autograph, Charles. I mean, you think he's not intimidated?
I think he's act like a bullying, but maybe it's from his personality.
The United States has defeated Angola by the score of 116 to 48.
The game may have ended in a rout, but afterwards, the result was overshadowed by the controversy.
Well stood the elbow. Well, he hit me, I hit him. That's the way it is.
Charles made you look like the ugly Americans, which we were trying not to do.
We said to Charles, look, man, you're a reflection of all of us. So if you do it, they're not going to write the article that Charles Barkley did. They're going to say the Dream Team.
Barkley had stained a dream debut for the Americans. But in their next game against Croatia, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan grabbed the spotlight, with the focus on their matchup with one of Europe's best players, Tony Kukoc.
Major storyline that carries into this game involves Tony Kukoc, second-round pick of the Chicago Bulls back in 1989. The Bulls made a strong push to sign him last season.
At that time, general managers in the league were trying to come up with gems, make their discoveries overseas. And Krause thought this guy could play in the NBA.
While Jordan and Pippen had been winning back-to-back titles, Chicago GM Jerry Krause had been publicly wooing Kukoc to join the Bulls.
Krause was recruiting this guy and talking how great he was. You know, that's like a father who has all his kids and now he sees another kid that he loves more than he loves his own. So we were not playing against Tony Kukoc. We were playing against Jerry Krause in a Croatian uniform.
But unfortunately for the real Tony Kukoc, he was now the target of the world's 2 best defensive players.
They was debating who was going to guard him. No, I got it. No, I got it.
I'm looking at Michael and Scottie, and they're ready for, blood. Man.
We knew the world was going to be watching. We knew everyone wanted to see what Tony Kukoc was like, and we were going to give him the worst experience he ever had on the basketball court.
Pippen drew the initial assignment of shadowing Kukoc and harassed the Croatian from the opening whistle.
It was hard to run across the half court without a ball. And with the ball, it was just, here, somebody else get it.
Tony definitely wasn't getting a shot up, and he wasn't going to score.
Kukoc is nothing for 4, and he's contributed nothing.
We wanted to go guard him on the bench.
Kukoc is called for the offensive foul, and the pressure continues.
And after Pippen wore Kukoc down, it was Jordan's turn.
Kukoc, stolen by Jordan. He reads it better than anyone. Slam dunk.
Them dudes were all over him.
Jordan rejected Kukoc. Here's a 3-on-2. Pippen.
I had questions from my teammates. during the game, like, what is going on? Do you not see that they're really trying to get you off the court? And I'm like, so what? I guess that's how NBA game is played.
Pippen, Jordan, and the Americans cruised to another victory. This one by 38 points. But the domination had its detractors.
This team of All-Stars is almost too good. Is it a positive or a negative?
The question was now being asked, was the Dream Team too great for its own good?
This team of All-Stars is almost too good. Some think that we should go back to the collegians. It's been too easy.
I think then we ought to ban the African runners from the 10,000 meters because they make it look so easy as well. This is about our best, and this is wonderful for the sport of basketball.
Irvin, there's been some comments that the Dream Team is getting all the attention, and there seems to be some resentment about it. Have you heard about it, and do you have any feelings about it?
Basically, you know, we haven't heard about it. We're just here to do our job.
The media may have been looking for signs of a backlash, but in Barcelona and in the world beyond, the embrace of the Dream Team was universal.
You're gonna stand out and root against Picasso? I mean, seriously. They rooted for genius at work.
I kept thinking that the attention would dissipate. They're going to play the first game. They're going to win by 60. People are going to go back and watch track.
Jordan in transition with the slam to give Team USA a 60-point lead.
It didn't. It kept building and building and building.
The U.S. with another trouncing 127-83, 127 points.
Workers were trying to get autographs. The security people were trying to get autographs. All the athletes were standing on side like a parade.
What a ball fake by Scottie Pippen. It is a 58-point lead.
People perceived us as being superheroes.
This was a blowout on the U.S. men's Olympic team.
The guy on the bench is taking pictures, and I said, wow, we are having an effect over here.
Wrap around pass to Wrexham.
Another easy victory in this, their 5th game of the Olympics.
It was as if the President of the United States was in the midst of a caravan that was going through the streets.
It was like the Beatles, where there's thousands and thousands of people waiting all the time.
That was the most exhilarating 15 seconds of my life.
We're like, wow, this is amazing.
No one member of the Dream Team reveled in the Olympic experience more than Charles Barkley. After throwing the controversial elbow against Angola, Barkley had emerged as the team's most visible player.
Everybody always had the same question. How much of an ass is Charles Barkley?
Hey, Jack, when am I going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated for this stuff? I should be on the Dream Team cover.
And then every time you'd go spend time with him, you know, you'd just realize that he was the most enjoyable act, not only in all of sports, but possibly in all of pop culture.
Sometimes I dream that he is me. I just want to be like Mike.
Right away, I told my editors, I said, well, the number one angle here is what is Charles doing?
And if you wanted the answer to that question, all you had to do was follow the crowds.
They're like, we don't want you guys out and about because we don't know how safe it is. And I'm like, dude, I'm at the Olympics. I'm not going to stay in my room the whole time.
So Barkley strolled Los Ramblas, a man of the people if ever there was one.
Man, I walked up and down the Ramblas every night, and the people were fantastic. They all wanted autographs and wanted to take pictures.
We could be inside the hotel. Soon we heard the big roar. We said, there go Charles. So Charles would be walking, and then thousands would be following him everywhere he went, you know. He was the Pied Piper.
Charles would go over to the village and find the Angolan players and hang out along the Ramblas at night. He was the most memorable person of the 1992 Olympics.
I just saw this touch he had. I don't think anybody else in the world could have done it beside Charles Barkley. At the end of the day, he was America's best ambassador.
Barkley was celebrated for experiencing the Olympics on his own terms. More quietly, one of his teammates found a way to do the same.
We had the motorcycle escorts, and we bussed through traffic like Dick Tracy. But this one day, we got stuck in traffic, and we're just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. Finally, I said, that's it. Let's go. Anybody wants to go with me, I'm heading.
He'd get off the bus, and his family met him. He started walking right through the middle of everybody, and nobody noticed him. I'm still on the bus, seeing him walk down the street, and I'm saying to myself, I would give anything to do what he just did.
See, guys, this is called the Rhombus. See all the footprints? All right.
So Las Ramblas, it's like Times Square or something. There's just so many people walking. I'm 6'1", I'm about the average size of everybody else on that little walk. So I'm walking with my family, and I have the camera, and nobody's noticing.
You think it's the sunglasses that's fooling them? Must be. Hi, you're from America?
Yeah.
Whereabouts? Whereabouts?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. You been watching the Dream Team at all?
Yeah, I'm watching.
They're pretty good, aren't they? Yeah.
No attention whatsoever. Finally, we ran across this lady who had the Dream Team and all the pictures on her T-shirt.
Hi.
Hi.
Are you an American?
But of course.
You look wonderful.
Why, thank you.
She started speaking real excitedly about each of the players. And I said, have you had a chance to meet anyone?
Of course. We met Charles Barkley the other night.
Did you? He's a hell of a player. See, you got all the players right there on your shirt. Is Charles the only one you've ever seen?
The only ones I've ever met.
Hey, guys, do you know any of those guys on there?
I think my oldest son, Houston, ruined the surprise.
That's my dad. Your dad?
That's your dad? Too bad he's not here.
You play on a team?
I do, yeah.
Who is that guy?
I can't go anywhere without being bugged. Really not much different from Michael Jordan walking through here.
For the players, surreal experiences had become the norm. But even more memorable were the unlikely friendships developing behind the curtain.
It was a unique mix. You know, Larry Bird and Patrick Ewing became like best friends. I got a white guy from Indiana, and I got a brother from Jamaica.
Patrick said I could pick his money. It took me 3 minutes. Now he gets a chance to come back and start picking on mine.
Took me one. We were probably the two of the most unlikely people you thought that would be friends. But if you look, not only Larry and I got to be great friends, but all of those guys got to be much better friends.
We all enjoyed each other. We all enjoyed the ride. And we got a sense of each other as men. Then, when we got to the court, it made it even better.
The Dream Team's chemistry turned out to be the hallmark of their success, as the players closed in on what they came for.
Barkley now over the side leading cheers.
Their big margins of victory may have been a testament to their dominance, but numbers couldn't capture what made watching them so unforgettable.
Guys played the best basketball you've ever seen in your life. It was literally like great poetry or great art.
At times you feel you're watching a performance, a concert, rather than a basketball competition.
This was fun. This was like, it's how basketball's supposed to be.
And at the center of the fun was the team's biggest star, who had come to Barcelona at the peak of his powers and shown how much his popularity had exploded.
I will say this one thing about Michael Jordan. I've been around other celebrities in my life. I've never seen people react like they do to him. People go crazy when they see him.
In every corner of the world, there was someone who just wanted to see him.
Please, Michael Jordan!
No one had the sort of pull, the gravity that Michael Jordan had.
Jordan had initially come to Barcelona reluctantly, but an early morning trip just before the gold medal game revealed how meaningful his Olympic experience had become.
What time in the morning is it right now?
6:30, 6:15, 6:45, something like that. And I'm drinking coffee, so it's gotta be a hurry. Can we go now? Where you from?
Albuquerque?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Big fan of yours. Everyone's a big fan of yours.
Your name? George Hirsch. George, how you doing? Michael George, nice to meet you. Last night I hit my wall, man.
Did you?
I couldn't make a basket.
What are you doing up so early?
I do remember getting up early to walk into the stadium.
That is the thing that I remember the most about the Olympics.
Olympic Stadium. Imagine all the athletes that's been here before us. It's amazing. What about Edwin Moses? He won 122 consecutive races. I think everybody's got something to cherish. I think this is something that my kids are gonna love one day.
The Dream Team squared off against Croatia again in the gold medal game, offering the world one more lasting impression of their supremacy.
Barkley with the lead for Mullen. Behind the back,
Team USA came to send a message tonight.
We wanted to win and we wanted to dominate, but how we did it, sharing the ball, including everybody. We did it as a true team.
The U.S. has defeated Croatia 117 to 85, and they have won the gold here in Barcelona.
Campeón olímpico y medalla de oro, el equipo de los Estados Unidos de América.
There was never really any doubt the Dream Team would win gold in 1992. But as they walked back onto the court to get their medals, the moment still overwhelmed them.
You saw a lot of tears from players. It was a very proud moment for me because anytime you represent your country, you know, that's a prideful thing.
Man, sent chills down my spine. It was a reward that I had never felt like that I would ever achieve. To do it on that stage with those group of guys, it's a memory I'll never forget.
Nothing in my life has ever felt like standing on that podium. I was getting goosebumps.
Every single time I heard the national anthem after that had a different significance to me. I knew what it really meant, you know.
As a young kid growing up, I used to watch Olympics on TV with my father, and all he talked about was the Star Spangled Banner and the gold medal. It made him feel proud to be American. Being up on that podium that night and receiving it, my father, he'd been pretty proud.
All those emotions just overcame me. I got to be one of the guys one more time for my country. I said, man, I'll never forget this moment. You know, if this is the end, this is how I wanted to go out.
This group may well be the greatest team ever assembled in the history of team sports.
But when the medal ceremony was over, another realization began to settle in.
When I walked off, I remember thinking that whole dream has come to an end.
The next season, every Olympian except Magic Johnson and Larry Bird would return to the NBA. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen would win their third title against Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns. On the way to 6 championships overall, the last 3 with Tony Kukoc. Eventually, other members of the team would also win titles. But each NBA player on the Dream Team would reach the Hall of Fame. Still, it's what they did together that summer that had the biggest impact on the game. An impact that continues to grow today.
It really lifted basketball, and it gave birth to international stars who had nothing to do with those games in '92, but who took so much from it.
We made the game a worldwide game.
You know, I talked to Tony Parker. I talked to Ginobili. I talked to Dirk Nowitzki. Those guys say their first love of basketball started with the Dream Team. And I'm really proud of that.
The world can change a lot in 20 years. But there are moments in time you never forget, no matter how long it's been. No matter how much else has changed in your life since. 20 years later, they've all kept ties to the game in one way or another. And they all talk about the summer of '92 as if it happened just yesterday. An experience still unlike any other in their remarkable basketball lives.
I've never had more fun being around anybody. Everybody got along. There was no ego. We had fun. You know, clearly everybody reminds me I never won a championship. So that to me was like winning the championship, winning the gold medal, and hanging out with these guys.
The reward itself is really only a small part of the story. It's what the gold medal represents that will always tie these men together.
This is like, this fraternity, that's pretty awesome.
I don't think you're ever going to be able to get 11 Hall of Famers to play all at once, you know, on one team. That's unheard of.
Ha! We go on the bus. Ha! We come back. Ha! Walk out the hotel. Ha! Wave. Ha! Wave outside your window. Ha! I can't believe it. That's so magical. I just saw my God.
It changed sport as we know it. They showed the world how to play basketball. What other team can say that? I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again. It's an insult to compare anybody else to that team.
Take a good look. Perhaps we'll never see a team this great again.
No team will ever have that happen, hasn't had that happen, and that's the dream team.
'92 gold medalists, Olympics. USA basketball, Dream Team, original, NBA. Hey, give me some of it.